Almost 6. Are you wearing the same shirt as me, Matt? We got it. Look.
Oh, yep. So it's funny, both of my kids were wearing Check Cherry shirts
Oh,
today. So
really?
yeah, they were in
Love it.
school sometimes. So
That's a Chick Cherry swag. Okay, it's 6. Let's get started. I'm Judd. I'm one of the co-founders of Chuck Cherry. Matt is the other co-founder, and tonight's webinar, we're doing dynamic pricing in Check Cherry. And so there's a lot of different ways that pricing changes in Check Cherry. And you'll kind of see how this works with both proposals and online booking and so on. Um, but we're just going to cover some of them. And then if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand and chime in or just chat on the right-hand side. And I'll do the fielding of questions. Matt will drive as usual, I suppose. And we'll kind of get into dynamic pricing.
thanks, John. Okay, so let me share my screen here. And I guess probably the easiest place is to start with packages, maybe. Um, I guess just to maybe step back a little bit. So with dynamic pricing, what do we mean by that? And I guess it's just being able to, particularly with online booking, be able to kind of accommodate different circumstances. People have different numbers of hours, different numbers of days, multiple packages, all the different scenarios that kind of come up. And obviously with a proposal, if you're building that, you can manually adjust things and manually make changes. But one of the goals of a system like CheckCherry is to kind of allow you to automate a lot of that, so you don't need to, pull out a calculator every time and make changes. So why don't we start with the packages, and just take a quick review of that. So under Manage Packages, if I go to, one of my packages and pricing and scheduling, we've got a number of different pricing options in here. So kind of the simplest pricing scheme is just to charge somebody a flat rate. Hey, if you book my wedding silver package, it costs $500 and you get 2 hours for that. If you have tax, in your account, then you can turn the tax on or off. But it's real common that, that you'll start with a certain number of hours, call it 3, 4 hours, and then you want to allow the customer to choose additional hours. And so with Check Cherry, it's real easy to do. You turn on the charge for extra hours and you set your hourly rate. And then you set the maximum number of hours that somebody can book you. So, when somebody goes through the booking process, if they choose this package, then we'll automatically calculate the pricing. And so let's go ahead and open up another tab here and look at our wedding silver package and just kind of see how that works in practice. So, Um, the important thing is, so it starts at $500 and then they can choose an extra hour and that gets updated in real time as they do that. Um, One thing you'll notice is if I go down to 2 hours, it's still going to charge $500. And so when you're setting up your hourly pricing, this is the least that the customer is going to be charged. They might not need the full 4 hours. They can choose less if they want. You can put that minimum to fewer hours, but they'll
They'll
still be.
always build, yeah, they'll always be billed the starting rate, and the system will allow you to do less hours. If I remember right, that came up because some people would want their calendar to reflect less hours, right? So, but then
Yeah,
you,
or just, it
yeah,
would just kind of cause confusion for, the customer's like, oh, I don't need you for 4 hours, I need you for 3 hours.
right.
And so that way, they can choose it, but the rate doesn't change. You can also decrease, I think by default we set these to 1 hour increments. You
Hmm.
can increase that if you want as well, or increase it. But so if you want to do 30 minutes, let somebody book you for 4.5 hours, 3 hours, 2.5 hours. That's an option as well. Um, you can also do uh, another another common use case is multi-day packages. So real similar to if instead of charging per hour, you want to charge per day, you can do that as well. And so what you're going to do is change the scheduling mode to date only. Reason, we just want to collect a number of days instead of a number of hours. And then you're going to do basically the same settings here. So you're going to say, okay, my daily rate is, $400 and the minimum number of days is 1 and the maximum is, whatever, 10. And then when I go back to view this, I'm going to see more of a date picker style. And let's see here. And so based on the number of days, it will automatically um, choose that. So let's see here. Well, I think because I started booking already, but let's see.
That's fine. I mean, I think there's just another wrinkle, which is, that's
Yep.
just one start time, when you do the multi-day like that. You can also, if you need to do multi-day, and there's separate start times, let's say in a festival or something where you're doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and there's 3 start times, you can add packages with the date time mode. So date only is more like a long-term rental or something of that nature.
Exactly. And then kind of the last scenario here in the package editor are these less commonly used, but still useful sometimes, the charge by unit. And so what you can do with these is a lot of times for like say you want to charge for like guest counts, you might have one price range if it's 0 to 100 guests, and then another price tier if it's 100 to 200 guests. You see this kind of more in the like say the venue world where based on the party size and things like that, that pricing might change. One thing to keep in mind if you do want to use the unit pricing is basically we'll add the starting rate to this unit pricing. So if I come back here and refresh now, it's going to ask me how many guests are attending. I'm going to say 100 or less. And what's going to happen is it's going to do 600. So that's going to be 500 from the starting rate and then 100 from the guest rate. Sometimes that causes confusion, and what people really want here is a starting rate of 0. And so basically, if I do that, then my it's going to charge $100 if I choose 100 guests and go up to 200 if I choose up to 200 guests.
Yep. And just a reminder, if you're ever confused with Check Cherry, chat with us from within your account. We can help you, point you right in the right direction.
And yeah, and again, this is probably less commonly used. The unit pricing, I think, particularly with, our photo booth and DJ customers use this less. I think some of the other services use it more. You can also do things like just charging pure per guest. So if you just want to charge, based on the number of guests, you could say, $5 per guest. And now
And we
what I
see people like what mobile bartenders, caterers, anything where your basically cost per guest, think of it is going to increase. This is a helpful setting.
Yeah. And then as I put in the number of guests, it's just going to get multiplied by that per guest cost and come out to, 30 times 5 is 150. And so as they enter their guest count, that'll update in real time as well. And so those I think are the main things that come up with packages. You can also change what the unit is, if it's not guests, if it's, square feet, if you're doing real estate photography or, different things like that. So,
Hit that,
kind of,
Matt, hit that advanced tab.
yep,
Because there's one other area, which
yeah,
is the notion of including stuff, right? Do you want to cover that, or is that you do
sure,
it
yeah,
later?
yep,
Including add-ons,
yeah.
basically,
So let's kind of put this back to a more normal price.
more traditional setup.
We'll say it's $500, includes 4 hours, and then $200 per additional hour. Under advanced, we also have kind of the concept of like including, and we'll take a look at our our add-ons later, but um, sometimes people want to automatically include certain items with their packages. And so what you can do there is click that include add-on. You can choose one of your add-ons. So say this loud, a couple options here. Do you want to allow this add-on to be removed by the customer? Yes or no. And then should this be included at no charge? Yes or no. So we're just going to leave it at the default here. And what that's going to do is now when somebody adds this wedding silver package to their cart, it's also going to pull in this speaker add-on as well and include it for free. So um, let's go back, pick our package, and now we've got this add-on included for free. And even if you normally charge for that add-on, it's going to be automatically included at no cost for the user here. You can also decide that you don't want, that you do want to charge, or you can decide whether to allow the customer to remove. Maybe if you've got a limited number of these, of a certain product that comes with your packages, it can be helpful to include those add-ons with your package. And then it can be useful for pricing reasons. If you just want to show that, hey, you're getting this for free, it's part of one of the perks of our premium package. That's a great way to do that. And I think that's about it with that. Anything else you want to add on that, Chad?
No, I think that's good. I mean, I love that we're starting with packages. It's core to Check Cherry. We have great package management. Love it.
And then kind of the next level are add-ons. And so add-ons are basically where you can kind of upsell the customer. As the customer goes through the booking process, they'll choose their package, and then once they get to the add-on step, that's kind of the next opportunity they have to see different items that you offer. And those can be things, they can be, things like scrapbook stations or equipment, things like that. But they can also be things like extra hours, a second attendant, idle time, and other things that are not necessarily a product. They're just they kind of modify the event in some way. So kind of the simplest add-on would be, if you create a new add-on, you can set the price, and that's it. They add it to their cart. And then if they add multiple, it'll just get multiplied. So if I add 2 of these to my cart, it's going to be $200. 3 will be 300, etc. You can also do some more advanced things, like say you have an extra attendant. So you might want to do it a little bit differently. So you could say extra attendant, and you could set the hourly rate of that attendant. Shouldn't do that here. And so what we're going to do is, instead of just charging a flat rate, we're going to we're going to multiply that by the number of hours that the package has. So if somebody books you for a 4-hour package, that's going to get multiplied by this hourly price and charge $400. If somebody picks a 5-hour package, it'll charge them $500, and so on. You can also do that with days as well, if that's something you need. And you can even increase the quantity if you needed. If you wanted to let people book 2 extra attendants or 3 extra attendants, it's going to do all that math automatically. So once they add this extra attendant add-on, or add a couple of them to their cart, it'll automatically take into account these calculations and adjust the total accordingly. You can also multiply this price by the number of units on the package as well. So if you are using that unit pricing, say you're charging per guest instead of, this type of thing where you're charging per guest, you can have your add-ons take advantage of that too. So
An
lots of
example of
options.
that, like maybe you'd be like have like a mobile bartender upgraded glassware or something like that, right? They want to charge per item, a little bit extra.
Exactly. And so in that case, you would, if somebody puts 100 guests, it's going to get charged, 100 times, times the price.
Yep.
Um, and then let's see. I think that's about it for the pricing. Sometimes people also want to do more like an idle time type of feature. And in that case, you're just going to leave that, flat rate per unit or per hour. You're going to set your idle time rate. And the other thing you might want to do is have it extend the booking length so that it blocks more time off on your calendar. So you can say, okay, for each you know idle time hour that they add, I want to extend the length of the booking on my calendar. So that can be helpful as well. Oops. Save that. And then backdrops are real similar to add-ons, a little bit less, in terms of just kind of the advanced features, but with the backdrop, typically that's just going to have a single price. We do have an option though to include it at no charge with certain packages. So a common thing we'll see in backdrops is that maybe it's included, it's extra on your basic package, but then if maybe it comes standard with your higher end package. So that's something you can do as well. And then let's see. And I think that's about it in the packages, add-ons, and backdrops.
Well, in the backdrops, can we override the pricing and stuff like that? I mean, isn't that
What's that?
the backdrop category level? You can
Oh
override
yeah,
pricing. Maybe I
yeah.
mentioned that.
So at the category level, you can also set your pricing there so that you don't need to do it on each individual backdrop. So
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
set my default price to 100, then I don't need to go and update the pricing on all of my backdrops. Um, it'll just default to 100 on all of them.
Yeah, it's probably worth mentioning, but yeah,
Yeah.
other than that.
And then kind of the next level would be, I guess, giving a discount code to somebody. So with discount codes, basically those are typically going to be something that you give out to customers to give them a deal. So not everybody is going to get this, only the people, with this code or that click a secret link or that do something, and I think these are, obviously they're great for promos. Sometimes people have like pop-ups or, different things on their website or send out emails with discounts or give them out to partners to share. If you've got a partnership with some venue that drives a lot of business, you might give them a discount code that they can give to their customers. And it's just a nice way to make the customer feel like they're getting something special and then, kind of incentivize certain types of traffic. And so with those discount codes, those can either be a percent or a flat rate. So I could say, give somebody 10% off, or I could just give them a flat rate of, $50. I can also control what this discount applies to. Maybe it applies to just my photo booth packages or, even add-ons or things like that as well. So if I apply that to just my photo booth packages, if somebody's booking a DJ package, of course, they won't be able to use that. Otherwise, you can just leave it to all packages to let everybody use it. And then kind of the next section you'll see is when is this code valid? And so the first day the code is valid, you can set your start date and your end date. And that date, that can either be based on when the event is booked. So, if I'm booking my wedding today, then today is the book date. I'm booking it right now. And so I would say that's kind of the most common that I have a code that's good for the next week or the next month or something like that. But you can also do it based on the scheduled event date as well. So you could say this code is only good for events in June. Maybe June's a little bit of a slow month and we want to incentivize it. So we're going to give a special discount for that month. And then you can also do things like limiting it based on the days of the week. So you could say this is a weekday code, and so I'm only able to use this on Monday through Thursday. Um, and again, that can be kind of a good way to, give somebody a code that doesn't necessarily book out your higher volume days. The next option here is whether they should be allowed to redeem this code on proposals. And so we didn't always have this option, kind of the way we thought of proposals was that, you're giving somebody a custom offer just for them. That you're setting up the pricing and that that yeah, that you've already decided what you're going to charge them. But that being said, we've seen a lot of people use discount codes to kind of try to incentivize the customer to close. So for instance, they might send out a discount code 2 days after, if the customer hasn't made the decision yet, maybe that discount code will push them over the edge.
I think it's worth noting here is that if you have a valid discount code that does apply to proposals, there's going to be a text area that says enter a discount code on the proposal. And on all proposals, frankly, right? So, or at least all proposals that it applies to. And so you might be encouraging people to, ask for more discounts if they see that, even if you don't plan on giving it. Some of the original thought by just leaving it off, but something to consider. You can also manually apply discounts on your end without having this, regardless of that setting, if I remember right. So
Yeah.
really, it's something where people are automating a little bit more and sending follow-ups to say, hey, you haven't closed yet on this proposal. Go ahead and just use this for 10% off.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point. When we show that discount code, if somebody's going through the online booking, it's going to be on the last step, and in this little field here. And we only show that if there are any valid discount codes in effect. So if you don't have any active discount codes, we'll just hide that box. And people, it can be a disincentive for people to book if they think that somebody else is getting a better deal. Just the other day I was booking a flight on Southwest, and I see the little discount code box. It's like, is there a code out there? And
I
I
know, right? You're not, it's basically saying you're not getting the best deal.
right,
And you might be.
yeah. And yeah, and so I Googled around a little bit and found a code and
Oh, did you? Did it work?
it didn't end up working. It expired, but
Yeah,
but it
right.
reminded me that I had seen a code the other day, and
Right.
so it kind of made me know I wasn't getting the best deal. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
I
I
think
don't.
there's a cost to showing it. And like I say, to me, it means that I'm not getting the best deal.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
So
Somebody's getting a code off. You offer discounts? How do I get in on that?
exactly. And then the other thing with discount codes is, obviously that can be something that people type in. But we also have a way that you can share a link. So, from that discount code page, if you go to share link, um, that will automatically apply it. So you can give that code to say a venue or, use it in your promos or things like that. And that way the customer doesn't need to remember to automatically apply it. It'll just, once they click the link, the code will be applied and they'll be all set.
Matt, I got a question for you. It says, does it show if there are other codes or only if the proposal option is turned on?
So that will show basically if there's any valid codes in that scenario. So we'll hide it if we can. I mean, if there's no, say nothing is currently valid, all of your codes are outside of the current uh period, or maybe they don't, maybe you picked a photo booth package and the discount only applies to DJ packages. We will hide it then. It only if there's a way for somebody to redeem that code will we show it.
Denise says, can you hide the field even if you have valid codes? Short answer is no. And, but you can add discounts at any time, line item discounts, that type of stuff, but no.
Yeah. Yeah, if there's a valid code. But a code doesn't need to be valid for you to apply it. I mean, if you just want to have a quick way to apply codes on your end, you could set that to say, hey, I don't want it to apply to any packages. Then basically what that means is nobody can redeem that code. But you could still, manually apply it if you wanted to. So that could be useful. Um, so yeah. Then I would say kind of the most flexible way of dynamic pricing in Cherry is the flex pricing feature. So under manage, flex pricing, that's where you can set, even more advanced rules. So um, what you can do is you can either add discounts or surcharges to a booking. And so those are self-explanatory. A discount is, you're giving somebody a deal. A surcharge is you're charging somebody an extra fee.
I, I just, if I can just clarify, so just the discount codes we just covered, somebody has to basically enter in those characters, 50 off, promo 123, or click a link specifically that you've given them for them to get the discount code. The flex pricing will automatically be applied to bookings if the rules match, regardless. There's no special links.
Exactly. So I guess some scenarios that flex pricing is useful for are things like dates. So like say New Year's Eve, you want to charge extra. That's where flex pricing is great because it'll automatically apply that to it. Or say you always want to give your customers a weekday discount. You don't need them to type in a code. You just want to show that, as soon as they select a day, you want to show that discount applied automatically. You can do that with the flex pricing. And so, yeah, so it's automatic. The customer doesn't need to do anything. And so if we come in and we create a new discount, you can give it any name you like. And again, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can do that based on a flat rate. I want to discount $50, or you can do a percent. I want to discount 10%. You can come here and you can select what it applies to, only my photo booth packages, something like that. Otherwise, the default is that it'll apply to all of your packages. Um, and then you'll come down here and then you'll see the various rules. And so the rules, basically all of them have to, evaluate. All of them have to be true for this rule to apply. So that can be things like, the book date. Again, if I'm booking an event, then today is my book date. And so you can say that, hey, I'm running a discount. I want it to automatically apply as long as they're booking in May. You can also do um, based on the scheduled event date. So if somebody's booking an event in May, hey, that's a really busy month for me. I want to add a surcharge or I want to charge extra, or maybe a different month you might have a discount and charge less. Again, you can do weekday or weekend, and you can go about that either way. Some people like to come in with a low price up front and then kind of, increase it as the customer goes through the booking process. Other people kind of like to have everything inclusive up front, and then as, depending on what days or things like that, maybe they get a discount. So you could do a discount for weekdays, or you could do a surcharge on, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or something like that.
I think it's the most common. People do discounts, right, to lower it off. But yeah, I mean, it could be either way. There's a question here. Lenisha says, I was having an issue with the codes or flex pricing before, and I don't remember what it was. I chatted with Samantha about it. I think it was wanting to apply it to a custom package. Do you have it put an end date for the code? Is that a requirement? And
Um,
so I'm
yeah,
not,
yeah. For discount codes, we do require some kind of an end date. I mean, it can be 100 years from now, but it does require some kind of a date to put in. The flex pricing does not. So with flex pricing, it doesn't need to have any kind of data involved.
Lanisha, was it resolved? I mean, it's not, I guess it's not clear to me. And if it wasn't, just chat with us, I would say. And
Yeah, it is possible under the package editor. I mean, you can apply things to custom packages or turn that off as well. So if and just to kind of a reminder, these flex pricing rules, they'll take effect, when somebody goes through the online booking process. But if you manually create a booking or a proposal, um, you know, those flex pricing rules will also take effect as well. The next thing you can do is apply a rule if the booking is a certain number of days away. So you can do things like if somebody's booking you last minute, maybe you want to charge extra for that because it's a convenience that you're willing to take it on. Or on the flip side, maybe you just want to fill those last few days that you have, and so you're going to give a discount for that. And then similarly, maybe you incentivize somebody to book you further in advance, so you have more time to play or to plan. And so those can be useful sometimes. We also have rules based on the total price of the booking. So you can do something like, if it's less than $100, maybe you have a service fee for to make sure that you account for things like travel and stuff like that. Or maybe if they spend more than $1,000 with you, they get a discount of some sort. The next thing is based on you can set up rules based on where the venue is located. This is a little bit different than travel fees. We'll take a look at travel fees as well, but this is going to be more commonly used for things like um, like our customers that live near big cities. If you've got to drive into the middle of New York City, that's a whole different, level of work and difficulty than doing something in a suburban area. So you might have a rule set up for certain cities or certain postal codes or things like that. And then the other thing you might do is have fees based on the specific venue. So, maybe for the Mission Inn, they have expensive parking, and I want to make sure that I get that I account for that. So you can add different venues and you can set a flex pricing rule for that as well. We also have based on the user account. So where that can be useful is if you have certain repeat customers and you want to give them special pricing, that is something you can do as well. So if you've got, a certain customer, they constantly do business with you and you want to give them a 10% discount, you can automate that as well. And then once
Carlos,
they,
yeah.
uh
Carlos says this is a good one for me. I think related to the area, the zip code and stuff. He serves some parts of upstate New York, but he wants to be able to surcharge. So awesome.
yeah. Yeah, and with New York, I think sometimes the postal codes are helpful because then you can get a little bit more granular. Other places, like maybe Chicago or something, you can just do the whole city or something like that. Um, and then yeah, so based on the user account, great for returning customers, and I guess you could even go the other way if there's somebody you really don't like working with, charge them extra, but that might that might not go over well. And then the last one is based on the end time. So a common one that we get is like, certain places they have, if it's later than a certain time, they want to charge a little bit extra to account for that. So you can say something like, oh, if it ends between 11 p.m. and, or maybe if it ends after midnight, till whatever, till 7 a.m. I'm going to charge extra for that. And I don't know, not sure exactly the scenarios where people want that, but that's a frequent one that we
The
do.
end time, I feel like a lot of it was people don't want to be out late, and they want to pay staff higher if it's going to be out till 2 or 3, 4 a.m.
Right. Yeah.
That type of stuff. So I think that was the
Yeah. And so, and again, on these flex pricing rules, they can be applied to your packages, but they can also be applied to add-ons or backdrops as well. So, so that can be useful
most
sometimes.
of us old people want to be in bed by
Yeah.
at least midnight.
Yeah. Um, cool. So I think those are kind of the main ways you can automate, adding pricing to it. But I think it's important to kind of point out as well, you can always manually adjust pricing. So if I go to a proposal that I have, we'll take a look at this invoice here. And so I'm charging them, 2,700 for the 2 hours. It's got a weekday discount. I can always come in here, click this adjust invoice button, and make changes. I can come in and override the price on that. Instead of 2,700, maybe I want to charge 2,000.
This is kind of like overriding the sticker price, right? As opposed to, because of course you can always add a discount or a line item and stuff, but you're overriding the sticker price, so to speak, of a package.
And I can also override that, in this case, say weekday discount flex pricing rule kicked in, but maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I want to remove it or I want to change it. I'm giving a discount, but it's going to be 150 instead of, whatever it was before. Or I can delete that entirely if I don't want it to apply. You can also, you can also override the price on your add-ons as well. Once you add something to your event, you can say instead of $10 for this customer, I'm going to charge 50. Now, if I go to that invoice, it's going to show 50 for the price on that instead of 10.
And I feel like overriding the price on packages and add-ons typically is when you're charging somebody more than you would normally charge. And if you're charging somebody less, you typically add a discount, a line item discount, basically, to let them know they're getting a deal. But you could obviously charge less or show less, but that's typically how we see it done.
And then you can also enter just manual adjustments. If you've got an adjustment that doesn't fit into anything else, I can give a credit for, previous event. If something didn't go well the previous event, I can do $100 credit or something, and that'll show up on the event or on the invoice as well. So lots of options, and then I can always manually apply a discount code as well. And I'm going to be able to, as the admin, I get to see everything, whether it applies or not. So even though this 10 off discount code doesn't apply to this package, I can still override that, and it's going to get applied. So that can be helpful as just kind of a quick way to apply frequent discounts that you deal with.
Matt, Judd, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Hey, had a question. Now that you're showing the proposal, is there, I use proposals a lot too, and really appreciate you showing that the discount code field shows up for them when there is a discount. So just to be clear, when you have, Matt, I think you said if you have a discount code and then you just uncheck all the packages that it would apply to, would it not show the discount code field on the proposal?
Correct. Yeah. If you, I believe that should take it off. So basically, if you come in
There's
here,
there's also the other setting, which is to say,
Yeah.
show it on.
I know if you turn that off,
Oh.
that'll keep it from showing
Excellent.
up. Yeah.
Okay, and then one other question, on the proposal where you show, the section where it says the numbers and it itemizes and shows the prices. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
I was wondering, is there a way, I mean, sometimes I think I find myself wanting a way to hide the itemized part and just show them the total so
Mhm.
that, the client isn't nitpicking or just, trying to, say, well, what if I take this off or reduce this and just, I'd rather just show them a total of the package price. I
Mhm.
wanted to know if maybe that was in the works or if you guys have had any requests for that.
There have been requests for that, and it's possible it's something we accommodate in the future. One thing you could do in the meantime is just to override the package price and set the add-ons to 0. That would be one thing to do. I suppose, have you had a system that does this, and was it effective, or is it just an assumption that it'll be effective, that the client won't want to negotiate a lower price?
I've had clients that, I mean, they get the proposal and they see the itemized breakdown, and then, I mean, I guess uh, for some, it kind of lifts the veil off of like every single little thing and how we charge, and then they try to, some, not all. I mean, so it's not that big of a deal, but I just figure if I hide the breakdown and just, the price is the price, maybe it would ease second guessing or trying to play around with the numbers. So that was really why, I just
Yeah.
kind of, I haven't, and to answer the other question, yeah, I haven't had I haven't tried another system. I was using another system a while back, but they also did not hide the itemized part. Um, yeah, so
Yeah,
it's just
it
yeah, it's
could
just
work. I mean, I'd be curious, like, is it really going to work? Because some of the challenges, other than just simply hiding the field, is obviously on the admin side, we have to like, on the support side, oh, why is the total this? And where do we hide it? And what about the invoice? And what if you
okay.
remove stuff? And what if you add stuff? Does it change it then? And is it all? Uh,
Yeah.
so there's some of those considerations, but it's good feedback. We appreciate it.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. Well, thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah.
we'll definitely consider that. We've got kind of some proposals updates that'll we'll be rolling out over this year. So yeah, I think
Yeah, the
it's
proposals are going to
I
get
think
some
we
love.
like yeah.
And the invoices. Don't
Hmm.
forget about that.
Yep.
At least
Exactly.
managing the numbers from the invoice.
Yeah.
So we think you guys are really like that. It's going to make it easier. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then I guess the one flex pricing or pricing thing we didn't really talk about would be travel. Uh, you can also of course set up travel fees. Most of the time, I would recommend just setting a per mile rate. What's your travel fee? Based on your business address, or you can put it in a different starting address. And generally speaking, I mean, I would just say you charge whatever, call it $1 a mile and, maybe get 25 miles free or something. That's the easiest way to kind of set your travel. But you can also get much more complicated with that and do things like tiers, maybe 0 to 100 is one price and,
All right.
uh, do things like that
I
as
don't
well.
love that approach because then it's like if you're 101, and you're like at the
It's
next level,
complicated, yeah.
99, which is, but we have seen people do it. And remember, if you get complicated with things, it's going to be complicated for your customers, and that will, um, cause some confusion and hurt sales. Also, Matt, sales tax is also kind of somewhat
Yeah,
the
definitely.
customer typically, at least in the US,
Definitely.
certainly is paying extra on sales tax. If you're in a state that you're required to collect sales tax, we've got great solutions for you.
And so typically, while you're under the tax, you can just basically call, default tax rate or something and, just have us automatically look it up. We use a service called TaxJar. They do a great job of, based on the street address, the tax rate can be different across the street. So they'll look up that specific address and apply it automatically as well. So generally, that's all you need to do. Sometimes people have different tax policies in different states or things like that, but generally speaking, this is what people need to do. Um,
I
and
feel like we're
then
forgetting something, but it's not, right?
yeah, there was something I was going to mention.
I'm gonna look at the description here. Backdrops, travel fees, add-ons, hourly, daily, unit price pay, overriding packages, discount codes, flex pricing.
Oh, I know what it was. So I was going to mention under. So the other common thing that we get is that people want to pass along credit card processing.
Mm,
So under your payment settings, once you've got your payment account set up, check cherry account, if you're doing accepting credit cards, accepting bank accounts, PayPal, something like that. Basically, you can set your processing fees on payments. So what you can do is say, I'm going to charge, whatever, 2.9 plus 30 cents and then hit save. And now when customers go to make a payment, that fee will be applied, but it's just going to be applied to the payment amount. So if I come in and make a $450 payment, then it's going to apply those processing fees just to the payment amount. And then you might have a discount if they pay via bank account or something else. And so that way, it's just gonna target, whichever method they see, and then they can kind of choose, do I want to have the convenience of credit card or do I want to go through some extra hoops of doing something else? So that's kind of the only other thing I
And I
wanted to
just wanted to add, I mean, you could also raise prices 5% and not do payment processing fees.
mention.
and then make it really easy for customers, and they wouldn't feel like they're getting surcharged. So that's another
absolutely.
way to go about it.
So
Awesome. Does anybody have questions? Great job, Matt, running through that. About dynamic pricing. There actually is quite a bit. I mean, I was thinking flex pricing originally when we had this webinar topic. But the more, we dig into it, I mean, there's just a lot of different ways that CheckJerry helps you get an accurate rate for your customers. And I love that we started with online booking. So just like the proposals, it just automatically works. Real straightforward. Yeah.
Well, awesome.
Wait. We have some. Sorry, I wasn't scrolling. All right. We just zeroed out the add-ons and put a manual override price on the package. Sorry, I must have missed these. I guess I was scrolling up high. Yep, love the auto tax calc. Okay, just comments. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Dennis. Thanks, Rick. Love it. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll be doing more webinars. Donald says, new customer here. I've had to reach out to your support team, and they've been a great source of support. Just wanted to shout out. Love it. Great, Donald. Yeah, Sam does support primarily these days, and that's allowed Matt and I to focus on other areas. We still hop in and help out customers. So we're still around, certainly, of course, to help out. We listen to what's going on. We want to understand our customers, understand what you guys are doing, and make CheckJerry the best possible product it can be. And so that's awesome. And we've also just hired somebody as in marketing, as our marketing associate. So maybe the production quality of our webinars might go up, Matt. What do you think?
I guess we'll see. Yeah.
We'll see. Eric says, can I ask a off-topic question? How do you organize automated messages? I have quite a few. It's getting difficult to organize. So that's a good question. And then Rick said her rumor that multiple proposals were coming. Yep, the rumor's true. We'll have an option. It's been a long outstanding feature request. It's a difficult one actually for us. But there'll be an option where you can send one link with multiple. We're going to call it, I think, alternates is what we have right now.
I think that's what we're calling it right now. Yeah.
So we'll see if that's,
and the customer will be able to choose.
Create, so we think you guys are going to really like that. We'll see. We want to get something out, get feedback, all that stuff. And that's also kind of parlayed into more invoice changes. So it's going to be easier to manage invoices. And speaking of the marketing person, be sure to follow us on Instagram or TikTok. We'll be posting more like sneak peeks and stuff like that on those channels. So we're going to just have more activity all around. So the automated messages labels, right? I mean, that's
so
our solution.
I guess a few tips I would say, I think it's probably, figuring out an easy way to organize these is something I think, I'd like to do as well. But what I would say is, they're kind of organized by trigger. So, and that's where the order is coming from. So, add-on added to booking, attachment uploaded, booking canceled. And so, if you click one of those, you'll just see specifically the ones using that trigger. Or if you want to see all the ones that, going out via email or, require review, things like that, feel free to click any of those. You can also add tags yourself. So we did that instead of folders because, sometimes things apply to,
multiple,
multiple things. So, but anyway, you can add your tags and then you can click that or, search for it or, whatever, and it'll come up. Again, the search will search at pretty much everything. So it'll search, if you've got a subject for message, instructions, just drop that in the search, it'll come up, directly as well. So I would say those are kind of the main quick tips. But yeah, if you give things some tags, I think that helps a lot.
I would say start with the tags. Think of it like a folder.
But yeah, I know there's certainly room to improve that, I think so.
Yeah, that's helpful. I did not know you could click on the, for example, add-on added to booking and click on send immediately, click on email. That's helpful. And also, I didn't know how it was sorted either. I thought it was pretty much random, but now I see it's sorted by like trigger criteria, it seems. So yeah, this is actually really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and then even within that, it should be sorted. All of your booking created will be sorted like kind of like the order that they go out. So if you've got one that goes out a week before, that would come first, and then the day of, and then the ones after. But yeah, it does, so in theory it should be pretty, but yeah, it does feel kind of random sometimes when you see it. So
There's always work to be done around here.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, we love CheckCherry. I was just talking to my partner about how we could not even close to run our business without you guys. So yeah,
Love it.
awesome. Thank you.
Love it. Thank
Well,
you for the kind words.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Definitely appreciate it. So, well, thank you guys so much. Yeah,
Got one more for you,
Appreciate
Matt.
that.
Will there be more dynamic values like the ability to add the client's name to the terms page? And I'll answer that one. So it's very common that people ask for the client name, and we've resisted on it so far. Long story short is the client name will show up when they sign. And I suppose early on we realized that the person signing the proposal was not always the person who you were sending it to. And this is specifically like corporate schools and stuff like that. And I guess even on like mother of the bride signs or something like that. And so we just figured, well, it's so much easier if you don't have to assign a client and you don't put the client's name in there, that type of stuff. But it's a common question. And then that way we don't have to require somebody to be assigned to a proposal. And at the end of the day, it is going to show up when they sign. So you can reference the notion of a client. Like CheckCherry does this in like the privacy policy. And in our terms and conditions, we don't put your first name in there when you sign up for a CheckCherry account. We just reference you as the client and so on. But
yeah. And just to add to that, it's kind of problematic. Sometimes I think there's confusion about like, oh, is this my company name or my personal name, or I'm not the one, whatever. So we just automatically always include whoever signed it and just kind of leave it at that. And then that avoids multiple, if there's 3 clients on it who all should appear and all that type of stuff. And then the other thing, we always attach it to an invoice that has all of the details, package, number of hours, venue, dates, times. And the reason we do that is that'll take into account all of, if you've got multiple packages, it'll be formatted nicely. If it's a multi-day event, it'll look fine. Whereas when you try to include all of that in the contract, it just gets really messy. And then when somebody wants to make a change, if somebody needs to add another day to their event, or another hour to it, then you kind of have to get a whole new signature, which can be problematic sometimes. So
we just have a strong preference to avoid the world of change orders and extra signatures for like $100 extra. It just seems ridiculous. The whole idea of CheckCherry is to reduce friction, and you can craft your terms that is such that reflects how you do business. Another thing that is probably going to come this year is an update to how the contracts works. And part of that is likely to have some contract templates that we will provide that will give you kind of a good starting point, basically, with how CheckCherry kind of operates. So we think that'll also really help you guys. Linish is off topic as well. Can we make the revenue snapshot to automatically show year to date?
I thought it would stick theoretically, as long as you're on the same browser, it should stick. And then if I go to another page and come back, it should retain those settings. If it's not, let us know. But
Yeah. Yep. So it should, if you change it once, it should stick, there. So let us know. It doesn't have to filter every time. Interesting. Yep. Chat with us and bring that up as well. Maybe we can do a screen share, take a look at it. Yeah. Cool.
awesome.
Thanks,
thank you,
guys, for
guys.
joining us. Appreciate it. We appreciate you guys so much.